Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. This is our lecture over Chapter 14, Visual Rhetoric, so follow along. Okay, so this PowerPoint goes over decoding visual rhetoric, different questions we can ask ourselves when we are looking at images. But first, I have a question for you. What is your first feeling when you see an American flag? For some of you, it might be pride or a sense of comfort. And for others, the feeling might be more complicated. Perhaps it represents both home and anger. A flag can be one form of visual rhetoric. Take a moment to think about the flag, or any flag, and your feelings about it. And if you want, you can use this as a free writing exercise. Remember how I say free writing exercises your brain, but I won't take this one up, so it's up to you. Today, we are inundated with images. So much so that we hardly stop to think about how visual the world we live in is. You can see I have some shots here. We've got Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. All of these are probably forms of media that you look at on a daily basis. And surprise, YouTube did not invent the visual argument. That is not my joke, that is in the book. So my question moving forward, which you're going to have to answer in your head, is, can we examine images in the same way that we have been examining written arguments? And the answer to that is, duh. So what is a visual argument, or what is visual rhetoric? It can be an advertisement, a chart, a graph, a table, a diagram, a web page, a photograph, or a painting. Visual arguments can take a position and offer evidence to support the position. Even a single image can be an argument. Visual arguments can also use position and evidence communicated through images rather than words. So our goal today is to think critically about visual arguments. The goal is to understand the point that the creator of the visual is trying to make when we look at an image. We need to understand how the message is conveyed, and we need to evaluate whether or not the methods used to persuade the audience are logical and fair, and ask the question, is this effective? So in essence, we're doing all the same things that we do with visual arguments. You can also create your own visual arguments. You can use them in papers or in projects for other classes. And our final project will be your own multimodal visual argument. So remember, you still have the rhetorical appeals to work with when you are creating a visual argument. First, we'll start with pathos. Perhaps this is the most engaging element of visual rhetoric. It is the first initial feeling that we have when looking at an image. When we examine something to consider how it's using pathos, we can look at the spacing and the shapes and the emotions that those may convey. We can also look at colors and the emotional response we associate with those colors. In your book, there's a great image of the Earth taken from the moon, and that distance says so much in the image alone. The book also uses an example of two different covers for Zelda games, and you can see that the color, as the color changed over time, it conveys a different message for the audience. Here I have two images that are related to climate change, global warming. On the left, we see one that has this juxtaposition of color, right, which creates a really startling image for us and conveys a sense of urgency if we don't act. On the right hand, we see the image of the Statue of Liberty. The image of the Statue of Liberty completely submerged says more than any words can convey, right? So we can use pathos to create a strong reaction in people and definitely convey an argument that we're trying to make. We can also consider ethos. If we're analyzing an image, we might ask, who is the creator? Or is there someone in the image that helps to endorse the information on the image? If you are creating your own image, you want to ask yourself, how can you establish credibility? Some things that establish credibility include the logos of organizations. The medium in which the image appears can also convey credibility and how professional it appears. All of these help give an image credibility and authority. They can also take away from credibility and authority. If you see the image on page 356 of all of the men discussing reproductive rights, it conveys a very clear argument about who is making decisions, and maybe even asks the questions who should be making decisions about this specific issue. The images I have here are slightly different from the images in the earlier slide, but they are still examples of visual rhetoric. On the left, we have Desmond Tutu and a quote about climate change, right? And he's saying we need to act now. And on the right, we have Al Gore, former vice president, who's also known for his documentary, An Inconvenient Truth. The person alongside the words conveys a sense of authority. Or, for someone who may not agree with those individuals, it can take away from the image's credibility. We can also consider logos when analyzing images or when creating our own. Important to logos are things like organization, right? Organization works in our essays to convey logos, but it also works in images in terms of layout, where information is placed, how it's juxtaposed. In our textbook, there's a great breakdown of effective and ineffective visual design, pages 358 and 359. It goes through all the different things you can think about when considering logos. Finally, visuals can also convey data. There are several examples of infographics in our textbooks, and those give an attractive way of both giving us data but engaging us through the use of color and design. Some different types of logos in visual rhetoric include graphs, diagrams, drawings, maps, and timelines. All of those have very effective means of organization and help present information in a way that people can understand easily. Here I have two infographics to show you an example of logos. You can see the image on the left and the image on the right are both concerned with climate change, global warming. The image on the left uses bright colors. Again, that's not necessarily logos, but it does convey a sense of urgency. But it uses facts on top of that and numbers to convey specific information. The same thing goes for the one on the right. While that image is a startling image, it uses more subdued colors to convey very important information. And you can see the bottom, the keyword infographic. That is your bonus question on your quiz. You're welcome. When we are responding to visual arguments, there are many questions that we can ask in order to fully understand them. So you'll have this PowerPoint posted in class, but I'll go through these questions with you. You want to ask yourself, where did the visual appear? What is the source that it's in? Who is the audience? Who is it intended for? Is it intended for a hostile, friendly, or neutral audience? What is the image's purpose? Who or what organization created the visual? And what do you know about that person or organization? What is the issue that the image is addressing? You can also ask yourself, what position does the visual take on the issue, and how can you tell? And do you agree? Does it include words? Are they necessary? Are they unnecessary? Does the visual need more information or different information other than what it provides? Does it seem to be refuting some other argument or against a particular position? And then finally, the most important question to ask, and when you create your own arguments, you always want to ask, is this effective? Do people want to look at it? Is it attractive? Is it clear to see? Is it convincing? But also, does it convey the information that is intended? Okay, so that's my overview of Chapter 14. Hopefully this gives you further context for understanding the information. Don't forget to participate in the discussion board and take the quiz by Friday. I hope you guys are having a great week. Bye-bye.